I welcome you on behalf of Merck to this webinar on managing up, down, and across. I look forward to spending the next hour with you discussing this important topic. And if you are not familiar with what we're talking about here, hopefully I'll be able to explain it. But I have a feeling that you know very well what we're talking about in terms of managing up means that managing your boss and the senior management. Managing down, this means that if you have employees, how to manage them. And then managing across, your peer managers, how to work with them and everything. I believe this is an extremely important topic, especially today. And I hope that you benefit from this webinar. I always say that this webinar is a prelude to the courses we give. And we are launching this course because we believe it's an important topic. So I hope that you manage to make it to our courses, because that's where we go into details about this particular topic or any topic we cover in our webinars. So I welcome you, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. In Dubai, it's an afternoon. You might be calling from somewhere where it is not. So anyway, I welcome you, and I hope that you benefit from this webinar as much as possible. So let's go ahead and start. Just to let you know that this webinar also has some, we will be asking some questions or surveys, and this is just to make sure that you know we are tying your experience to something that you learn. This way, for example, if I ask you a question, try to answer it so that you can benefit from this one as much as possible. Let me go ahead and start. My name is Jamal Saeed. I'm a partner with Merck, and I have been with the company for some time. I'll give you some background about me in a minute, but first of all, for those who are not familiar with Merck, let me talk about Merck a little bit. Merck is a very exciting company. We have been around for, you can say, 60 years plus. We just celebrated 60 years. So we have been around for some time. We had headquarters in Dubai, as you can see here. We cover many topics, and most of these topics are run as public programs. And on the other hand, we also run them in-house. And we also have an up-and-coming and strong arm in consulting services. So if you require consulting services from us, do contact us, please. We also have another company that was created in 2014, and as you can see, it is Plus Training. It is a company that focuses on specialized training and more or less, you can say, industry-specific and function-oriented training. So we use, in this case, leading subject matter experts from around the world, and they are practitioners. Some of them are still working in this field, and some of them are very strong technical trainers. So also, if you're interested in technical training, industry-specific, do help yourself to contact us, and we'll be more than happy to position you in these programs that we run. Now, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about Merck. So as we said, it is 60 years old. This is our vision. Our mission is over there. I'm not going to be talking a lot about this particular slide. I don't want to go into too much detail here. I know that you are, if you have joined us before, you probably have seen these slides before. Otherwise, we always provide these slides toward the end in PDF format. So if you like the slides and you like the presentation, do send us an email. I will send you the email as well at the end of the presentation, and let us know if you're interested in the slide. We'll be more than happy to provide it for you. So this is the company, our values, our vision, our mission. And then we have here the different topics we cover. And as you can see, in this particular slide, we have so many topics, from accounting, finance, to leadership and management, to legal. So all of these topics are covered under the umbrellas of Merck and Plus Training. Always visit our website. We are always updating our portfolio of programs. I think every year we publish, or we introduce, I would say, close to 14, 15 programs every year. So our portfolio is quite rich, and we always try to keep up with the latest trends in the market. So please make sure that you keep an eye on our website, or I recommend that you get on our mailing list. This way you can receive a regular mail from us on what we are doing and the courses we're conducting, as well as other activities that you might be interested in. Keep an eye on Merck. Merck is, even though we are 60 years old, but we are young at heart, and we are doing lots of interesting things. So we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you as well. Now, a little bit about myself, as I mentioned. I'm not going to take too much time in this area as well. My name is Jamal Saeed, being a partner with Merck for a short period of time now. I would say that I've become a partner recently, but I've been with the company for almost 6 years, and they have been very exciting times. And I must admit that my experience at Merck has also been very enriching. As you can see, I have worked for many multinationals, but Merck also has its own flavor in terms of the things I learned here and the things that I acquired. So I have a couple of degrees, one in engineering and one in business administration. I worked for Pepsi also, and Sun Microsystems and Cisco in different capacities. Some of them were quite senior, but like some of you, I started at some stage as a manager, coordinator, whatever, and I had to manage up, down, and across. And it's an interesting position to be in. And typically, here you are stuck in the middle management or working in the middle management, not necessarily being stuck, but you are in the middle management tier of the organization. And you have to figure out how to work with the different entities, how to work with your manager, how to work with the different, how to work with your peers, how to work with your team members. And it's an interesting situation, and I think it brings lots of growth to you because it's pulling you in all angles. And you have to cater to the demands of different parties here. So I would say that look at this opportunity. If you are in this situation where you are managing in all directions, look at it as something very, very exciting. Don't be disheartened, because this is the place where you extend your communication skills, your influencing skills. You manage people, you manage your peers, you try new things. So to me, this is why the course or this webinar, we're running it, and that's why we put this course together. I think it's a very, very exciting opportunity for people who would like to know more about, being in this situation, how they manage better, because this is a key stepping stone for future success. Now, that being said, let me go ahead and tell you what the webinar objectives are. Well, one thing for sure, I hope that you acquire a better understanding about yourself, because in my book of management, it all starts with you. It starts with yourself. How do you know yourself? Do you know what triggers your emotions, your motivation, your work ethics? And I think this is very important. I think it's important to understand your strengths and weaknesses. And then once you understand yourself, how to build relationship with your boss. I mean, your direct managers, you may have one boss or two bosses, doesn't matter. I think it's important that you have a good relationship with them. And we're going to be covering that in the coming slides. But remember, I always say that your manager is a resource that you need to know how to use and use wisely. And of course, the third objective, which is right here, is how to work with your employees. And you have to motivate them, you have to direct them, you have to select them even. Imagine, you have to select your employees, bring them in, train them and everything. So this is an important step as well. And people management is still and remains one of the most challenging aspects of a management job, because it does demand a lot of effort and time to motivate people and on top of that, of course, is to achieve results. And then number 4, which is right over here, is how to work with your peers, peer management system. Those who are in other departments similar to you, they are in a similar position, and you have to develop that relationship where you work with them, and sometimes you work together, sometimes you fight for resources, but you still have to develop a professional relationship. And this is very, very critical in a manager's life cycle, because at the end of the day, remember, you are developing what we say impressions. And lots of these impressions are formed by other peer members who look at you and, they speak about your capabilities or lack of it. So it's very important that you are developing the right impression about yourself with them. And then, of course, last but not least, which is the last objective, is culture. It's how you as a person need to interact with your culture of the organization, how to, and if it's a good culture, how do you promote it? How do you develop the sense of understanding of what the culture is all about and how it operates? So here we go. Now, one thing for sure is that most of our programs are supported by some blended learning. So I just want to let you know that in case you attend a program with us, I want you to know that you can also join an online training. This way, whenever you take a public course with us, you can continue your learning online. And this is something that we have invested in. And I really believe that this adds lots of value to you, to your growth as a participant with us. So, are you ready? Let's go ahead and start. Managing yourself, it is the first objective that we like to tackle. And here comes the first question. So I'm going to be asking you this question. Please try to participate and answer. And I'm sure that, they are not challenging questions, but the intention is here to, keep you engaged and, so that we learn something along the way in addition to the material that I'm giving you. So here's the first question. Self-awareness is a key attribute to succeed as a person, true or false? I'm going to ask you to answer this question here. Try to answer it. Let's see what we can do. Very good. So we have a couple of people answering already. Well done. Congratulations. And I want to welcome Anita Abu Bakr. I also would like to welcome Taysir. Taysir, welcome back, man. I'd like to welcome Speeda as well. So I want to thank you all for being here. Forgive me if I missed one of your names, but I always nice to see you guys back with us. So just for the sake of time, I normally give people some chance to answer the questions, but I don't want to give too much time because I know sometimes we only have 1 hour, so we have a limited time. So let me stop here for a second. I will share with you the answers. So I see that all of you answered true, and this is fantastic. Let me show the results. So here we go. This is the results. I hope that you see it. And you are right. So self-awareness is a key attribute to succeed as a person, and all of you answered correctly, and I'm very proud of you. As a matter of fact, this is very, very critical. I consider creating self-awareness. Self-awareness is the biggest investment that you can make in yourself. But how do you become self-aware? Creating self-awareness can be accomplished through several techniques, and I'm not going to go into too much deep dive here. We do that in the course, but let me tell you, what does it mean to become self-aware? Well, you know who you are. You know your, what triggers motivation in you. You know your weak points, your strengths. But there are certain techniques that you can use. One of them is meditation. And in my courses, I always ask people that at the end of the day, take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and just reflect upon yourself. How did you do today? So this self-criticism or self-evaluation, I don't want to call it criticism, this self-evaluation is so critical for you as a person to develop yourself. So one of them is meditation. I mean, how did I do today? Why did I raise my voice against a person in the office? Why did I receive a comment from my manager? Could be good or bad. So this self-evaluation, this meditation is very important. It's an inward journey. So you have to do that. And then, of course, write down your plans and priorities. And to me, this goes without, this is a must. Any manager, any motivated manager, any manager with a positive attitude, you should have goals and plans ready for on an annual basis, and sometimes even further out. Some people write goals for the next 10 years, 15 years. So always challenge yourself. Write down your plans and priorities. And then you can see on the third point over here, right over here, I'm talking about this particular one. Take psychometric test. Now, I was not a firm supporter of psychometric tests. I always felt that there could be some bias there. But once I joined Merck, funny enough, and I did some of them, I start realizing how important they are. Now, would there be bias in some of them? Well, you can say that there would be some bias, but for those tests that I took, honestly, they helped me tremendously. And I think that it's always worthwhile to take these psychometric tests and check who you are. Which quadrant do you fit in? Are you an aggressive person? Are you a more of a detailed person? Are you an introvert, an extrovert? These things can help quite a bit. And some of the psychometrics are really very good today. So I suggest that, if you join our courses, we will be running a few, but if you happen to, check some of them online, some of them are very good, and always do this, and you will see over the years that you progress. As a matter of fact, you become more aware and you progress. Then, of course, there's nothing wrong with asking a trusted friend. And as you can see here, I'm highlighting and I'm circling the trusted friend right over here. Don't ask anybody, just ask a person that you really trust, because this is something very personal. So they will tell you, what they think about you, that, maybe you're a bit sensitive, or maybe you are, think big picture or something like that. And then, of course, the last one here is get regular feedback at work. And this comes from your manager, could be other managers as well that you trust in the workplace. So it's always helpful to create that self-awareness. These techniques are always helpful. Are there any other techniques? Of course, you will always find other techniques. Some new ones are coming into the market, but these are the 5 reliable ones that I like to share with you. Moving on. So now that you are self-aware, you need to understand your new job. So let's say that you were a team member, now you are a team leader. What is your job? So I think it's very important that you really understand your job, what it is all about. Let's say that you were a manager and you moved to another new job, in another position, a senior position. Again, you require this understanding of the new job. Many people, based on my experience and based on the people I talk to, they move into the new job and they don't understand the new job, and they always assume it is similar to the previous job. Big mistakes, guys. So it's very important that you understand your job. What does it mean? Understand your role, understand the department you're in, understand the organization, how it operates. And then once you do that, it's very important that you set your goals for the job. And this is very critical, because any job comes with its own specific goals and objectives. So make sure that you are developing the right ones. And then once you do that, okay, ask in the company if there's any mentoring or training. There's no harm if you have a mentor, and I highly recommend it if you have somebody who you can talk to. And I'm not talking about a coach, I'm not talking about your manager, I'm talking somebody that you trust, who you can refer to, and talk to them about some of the difficult issues. It could be one of the employees is giving you a hard time. It could be a client, not responding to your needs. It could be other personal issues that you may have. I tell you, this role of the mentor is very, very critical. And I wish that every company invests in such a role. And then, of course, meet with other departments. So understanding your job, you are not alone. You are not an island. So it's very important that understand that you are connected to the rest of the organization. And it's very important to talk to them, understand what they need, what they are looking for, because you will be serving them and they will be serving you. So these 4 items are very critical when you are dealing with trying to understand your new job. Always make sure that you invest the time to understand what the job is all about. That being said, so now that you understand your job, do you have an understanding of your strengths and weaknesses? And guys, sometimes we don't have time for it. And I fully understand if you say, Jamar, I don't have time for this. But remember, again, invest half an hour, 10 minutes to half an hour every day. Or maybe if you don't have the time every day, at least once a week, put an hour a week and understand what are your strengths and weaknesses. Nobody comes ready for the job. This is a myth that people have to understand. There's nothing called I'm ready for the job. You will always have some gaps, you will have some weaknesses, and you have to develop these strengths and cover the gaps. Otherwise, it might fire back or it might cause some harm. But nonetheless, your strengths are the things that you can leverage. Okay, so this is very important. And they are the ones that will push you forward to perform differently than others. On the other hand, your weaknesses are not your pitfalls. It's not like if I have a weakness, that's the end of the world. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is I have a weakness, how can I make it better? So it is important that you know the strengths and the weaknesses. Always make sure that you leverage your strengths. Always make sure that you improve on your weaknesses, and make sure that in order to leverage your strengths and improve on your weaknesses, you have to know them. Now, in the course, when we run this course, we usually give our participant a chance to look at certain two tables. One table is directed toward the strengths, and one table is toward the weaknesses. And we ask the participants, pick those top 5 things that call you out. For example, pick the top 5 strengths that you are very strong in, and how can you make them better? And then in the weaknesses table, pick those top 5 that you are weak points for you, and then how do you improve on them? So as a matter of fact, once you pick these things, you can develop a personal plan, and this is very important. You develop a personal plan that will make you better at your job, first by making your strengths better and making your weaknesses, improving on your weaknesses. Now, that being said, okay, so now that I understand, now that I know myself a little bit more, I know my job, how do you measure your contribution? And I wanted to ask you one thing. I want to tell you one thing. Many people measure their contribution by the number of years they are working for a company. That's a big mistake. That's a misconception. Working for a company for 20 years is not a contribution. It is a point of pride, but contribution is how do you add value? How do you add value to your work? And that's very, very critical. So for those of you listening and trying to think a way of how do I add value to my company, I want you to always remember that you add value by saving money. Are you saving money for the company? Second, are you making money? For example, you brought in a new customer, and this customer brought you business in terms of 1 million Saudi riyal or dirham or whatever. This is making money. This is helping the company grow. And then, of course, how do you make the processes and procedures is better? Every process and procedure in the company needs improvement every 6 months to a year, because things are moving so fast. So are you working on improving these processes and efficiencies and procedures? And are you improving the quality of a product or a service? For example, if the customer is complaining about a particular service and saying that it's low quality, how can you make it better? And then, of course, fixing existing problems. Could be internal problems or external problems. Again, are you adopting a proactive approach where you take initiative and say, you know what, I'm going to save some money, I'm going to make some money, I'm going to improve this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to fix a problem. And then the beautiful one is, how do you prevent a future problem? Now, that to me is planning and strategy. And this is something very critical. Can you prevent a problem from happening? And I tell you, I have so many stories of people who I worked for or worked for me, and they have managed to do all of these things. So it's something I ask you to adopt on a regular basis. Always find a way to add value to your company. This is very critical, guys. This is very critical. Now, so all of these things now we are doing, but of course we are humans at the end of the day. So how do you stay motivated? This is where management comes in, management and leadership. And as a matter of fact, I always say that leadership is one of those motivation is associated a lot for me personally is associated with leadership. And I believe good leaders are able to motivate. But also we talk about self-leadership, as you can see. So how do you stay motivated? Well, there are many ways. One of them is making your daily exercise. If you cannot exercise daily, exercise every other day. Try to make it in the morning, because this way you accelerate your metabolism, you feel better. Watch out for the weathers these days. The weather these days, especially if you are in the Middle East, it's a bit hot. As a matter of fact, it's getting hot all over the place somehow. But always do your exercise. It's very, very important that you stay in shape and you do your exercise. Even if it's walking. Walking is the best exercise, guys. But at least do it. It helps you a lot. And then, of course, one of the way of staying motivated is spend time with co-workers, especially those who are positive and motivated, because motivation is also contagious. So if you have some co-workers who are, fun and they like to discuss certain things or cover certain things or play sports or something, be careful of not developing relationship. We're going to be talking about this one later on. But spend time with your co-workers. It's an investment in yourself as well as in others. And then, of course, create moments of inspiration. And this is important. You know, this is where you inspire yourself and say, you know what, I heard this particular speech from somebody. Let's say Nelson Mandela, or maybe some president in your country that you liked quite a bit, and he inspired you. That's something great. That motivates you. And write it down and make sure that you remember it and watch it every now and then. And you know what, today with YouTube and what have you, there's so many inspiring videos that I think it's worthwhile to tag some of them and watch it on a regular basis. It could be a music that you like. And then, of course, push yourself. Push yourself. This is, to me, is very critical. It goes back to your attitude. Do you always push yourself to perform better? Do you always every year push yourself for a higher target? Do you push yourself to perform at a higher level than others? And that's competitive spirit, and I like that quite a bit. That could be quite motivating. That you put a difficult target, you say I'm going to go after it. And I said difficult, I did not say impossible, because there's a big difference between impossible and difficult. Difficult target could be quite motivating. Impossible target could be, if you don't achieve it, it could be quite demotivating. So make sure that you push yourself toward difficult targets, demanding targets. Don't settle for mediocre, please. And then be sure you regenerate. The last one, what I'm talking about here is the fact that you need time to reflect upon yourself, train yourself, develop yourself, continue your education, go to a place where you feel rejuvenated and regenerated. I always do it every now and then. I travel to back to, for example, my home country where I feel very, very motivated. I go back to my roots. Sometimes I go to a place where I sit down by myself and just think about certain things. And this is very critical for you. So remember, this is yourself. This module or these slides that I talked about is about you. This is about you. You are the most important person, and I want you to invest in yourself. And this is very, very critical. So now that we covered a few things about, self-awareness, your job, how to stay motivated, and all of these things, now comes your boss. So how do you work with this guy? I mean, one of the key things that excites me about this particular thing is that when I go to courses and I run these courses, many people don't look favorably at the job, at the boss. And I wonder why. So here comes the second survey. I'm going to ask you another survey. So here we go. Okay. The question is, you really do not need to know your manager, especially if he or she is not that good. Let me see. Try to answer it, please. All right. So we have some feedback here. That's very good. So we have, okay. That's good. I'm glad that we have. All right. So I'll give you another 10 seconds just to answer the second question. Again, you really do not need to know your manager, especially if he or she is not that good. All right. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and end the voting here. So I'm going to show you the results. So well done to all of you. Well done. I'm very proud of you. Simply because, this is something about a manager that he is your manager. She is your manager. And I think one of the key things that surprises me is that people always take an antagonistic or a negative approach toward their manager, even though this is the person who is supposed to providing you with support, doing your annual review or regular review. This is the person who may have hired you. Look, at the end of the day, a word of advice, as much as I want you to invest in yourself, which we did in the previous slides, also invest in knowing your manager, okay? So let's have a quick view at the boss-subordinate relationship. As we know that if the boss and the employee work very well, the company is doing very well because both of them are working toward company productivity. And if the relationship is also built on trust and understanding, this will make the manager and the employee more efficient. However, there's no denying, and I'm not gonna lie to you. There are situations where the relationship is very bad, or it may lack cohesiveness, it may lack trust, and it's based on mistrust rather. So all of these things could lead into lack of productivity, or they might dampen the productivity. But I always ask my participants, and I always ask the participants who join our webinars, take the time to invest in knowing your manager, because he or she is a human after all, and I think it is worthwhile to get to know them. Know them for your own sake. So be a bit selfish here. So let's have a look at ways of, how can you understand your manager? Well, one of the key things is that we ask you is, if you not really already know, the most significant factor impacting your job is the relationship that you have with your manager. And this is where you can take charge and start managing up. First of all, your manager, does he embrace the mission? For example, if your manager is embracing the mission of what they really like, that's a very good sign. So embrace the mission that they have. So if they have goals and objectives, that's a good sign. So try to embrace the mission that they have and try to work with them on that mission. Every manager has goals, objectives. They want to achieve something. And achieving is a mission by itself. So try to embrace the mission that they see and look at things from their own perspective. Second, understand their goals, because no mission can be accomplished without the goals. So try to understand what is it that they want to accomplish. And then, of course, don't surprise them. I mean, I tell you, it happened to me once, and don't surprise your manager. Your manager doesn't like to be surprised. For example, you are working on your big boss. The big boss comes and tells you, I want you to work on this. And you start working on it without telling your manager. And then all of a sudden your manager asks you, what are you working on? And says, I'm working on this because the big manager asked me to do that. That's not good. That's not good. No matter what, your manager has to know what you're working on, issues that you're facing before anybody else. And then, of course, tell them, that's how I best work. That's how you can use me. Because some managers, they don't know, many managers, they don't know you 100%. They don't know their team. They know some of the things about you, but one of the key things, they don't know how to use you. So tell them, look, that's how best I work. I suggest you, for example, I get motivated by giving me feedback. I get motivated by going on courses. So at least they know who are they talking to. And then, of course, always align your needs to their goals. Okay, so don't ask for something that does not map very well to their goals. If it maps very well, believe me, you gain their support. And I always ask to develop a positive relationship. This is very, very essential. And that goes back to your attitude. So as you know, I'm a big believer in attitude. And then, of course, anticipate their needs. How do you do that? Well, one thing you can do is you visit them in the office, sit down with them, ask what they think, what they're doing, how can you help, ask them what are future plans they have for the department. And this way you can anticipate what they are thinking of. Last but not, the last three items is develop, do your job very well. It goes without saying. You are hired by a company because they believe that you are very good. So continue that mindset, and always do your best in every job that you take. And then, of course, honor their time. Many managers have, some time restrictions, tight time schedules. So they don't appreciate when you just keep walking into their office every now and then, asking questions. Many managers, they like you to be independent in many ways. So honor their time in that area. And one advice, under promise and over deliver. Very simple, straightforward. This way you're managing expectations in a very good way. So that being said, what management style is your manager exhibiting? So that is very important, and it is important to understand the person and their management style. For example, one of the key questions you could ask is my manager an introvert or an extrovert? An introvert is a person who keeps to himself, or she keeps to herself. An extrovert is an outgoing person who likes to talk to people, he likes to have parties, or she likes to go out. So these are two kind of people, and there are two kind of management styles that you are seeing here. On the other side is Another question that you might ask is, my manager a big thinker? This means that they think of big ideas. Or is he or she detail oriented? Again, different styles of management. Observe. All I'm asking you is observe your manager. It's very important you do that. The third question that you might ask is, okay, are they dominated by thinking or feeling? Are they logical or feeling oriented? I mean, sometimes you walk into a meeting and you will see your manager welcoming you with a smile and say, how was your day? How did you do today? And then they speak passionately about something. And then on the other side, you have managers who just stick step by step to the point. And again, two different styles of management. The last one is, of course, people who are very systematic. They take things one step at a time, very logical. And those who just are very impulsive. They just last minute kind of managers, and they ask you to operate based on that. So try to know your manager. Ask these questions. These 4 questions are a foundation. You can ask more questions, but these will help you tremendously in understanding your manager. Now, one more item I like to talk about in this area is, what is your manager expecting from you? Managers expect many things, but they definitely expect as number one, they want results. They want results from all of us. So our manager are expecting the results, because if we deliver results, they look better, they achieve the results. Second is, they don't like drama, in the office, especially, shouting and screaming and everything. We're not talking about conflicts. Conflicts do happen, but they want to collaborate, but they want to collaborate in a very effective way. For example, if your manager comes in and says, you know what, Jamal, I would like you to work with this person. And then you say, no, I don't talk to this person, he is and she is, then that's you creating a drama. When you are in an office and your manager asks you to do something, if you have a case, state it logically, but otherwise you have to work with people. This is something important. And then, of course, they like to see initiative from you. Always say it as it is. Don't try to hide things from your manager. Enthusiastic is very important. Be enthusiastic, and always be somebody who wants to grow, because managers will grow their role and they want to go on to another role. If you are a person who's showing growth, then they will consider you to become a successor to them. Now, developing your relationship with your manager, always make sure that you are productive, seek a productive and respectful relationship between your boss and your employees, because this is key for the company's success. And at the same time, it's always a safe bet to have this hard-working relationship rather than not. And because it's important to have this more well-balanced relationship rather than simply a superficial relationship. And managers know that. Managers, they know that a superficial relationship does not motivate. A superficial relationship does not dive into the core of an employee and motivate them. So believe me, many managers, they like to develop this kind of relationship. So be the person who kind of develop this relationship. Now, when we, so if you want the relationship to go very well, we suggest the following. Take initiative to set up a monthly meeting. It doesn't have to be weekly or daily. Remember, we don't want to tax their time, but a monthly meeting is very, very good. Demonstrate innovation and initiative. Always come up with ideas. And I want to ask you one thing here. Don't come up with ideas. We try to come up with an idea with some solution behind it, some numbers behind it. He or she will see that you have taken the extra effort to crystallize the idea and make it worthwhile. Don't just throw ideas. That's what I mean. And then, of course, strive for open communication. Open communication is not easy. It takes a lot of time and the high level of trust, but at least go for it, because with time, once you have an open communication, you can talk to your manager without hiding things, or it becomes more a transparent relationship and a stronger relationship. So as I mentioned before, your boss is a human just like you. He was in the same situation that you were today, and he or she managed to move up because they went through this learning process. And in this webinar and the course itself, hopefully we will accelerate this process. We would like you to see you as successful as possible. The last advice is be yourself. This is nothing better. Lots of people try to adopt the personality of others and they become other people. Never. You are good because that's who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. Now, that being said, some do's and don'ts about managing up. One thing to remember is understand your manager goals. These are some of the good do's. understand your manager's goals, build trust, and set feedback guidelines. For example, on a regular basis, ask for some feedback. Regular, what does it mean? Doesn't have to be on a daily basis, because that will be micromanagement, and that will not be good. Could be on a, every 10 days, 15 days, every month. You just sit down with your boss and talk about certain things. How did you do and everything? And then the things that I would like you to avoid is don't surprise your manager. Don't make everything about you. Because remember, there are other people in the organization, and always make sure that you rise above this me thing, and don't be just a yes person. Being a yes person, that's not what the manager hired you for. Some manager, you might say, Jamal, no. In my organization, I have to be a yes person all the time. Well, at Merck, we develop people, and part of developing people is to be an articulate person who can state their opinion and disagree respectfully, and make sure that things move forward by properly putting your ideas across. So don't be just a yes person, be a person who's adding value. Now, that being said, we move into working with your employees. I'm going to ask you a very quick question here. So here we go. The best approach to managing employees is to boss them around. Let's see. Let's see if you can get this one, if you're going to nail this one or not. All right. So we're going to give everybody a few more seconds. There you go. You guys did very, very well. Well done. So here we go. I'm going to share the. You did very good. So I'm very proud of you guys. You guys are switched on today. This is fantastic. So let me go back to the slide. Okay. Well, one thing for sure, okay, is that when you're managing people, one of your biggest challenges is to hire people. You have to select people to your organization. You are a manager now. You are managing a team, or managing a department, or managing a division, or managing a call center, or you have you have people working for you now. So it's very important that you select the right people. And this is a very nice, what Alan Hall is saying here, and he's a contributor at the Forbes.com. He's saying, look at the 7 C's, and I like that a lot. This thing attracted my attention. I said, you know what, you cannot make it any easier. 7 C's, this is great. What does it mean? Well, you have to select people who are competent. Competent means that they are able to do something, they have the knowledge, and they have the attitude. Second is, are they capable of doing the job? For example, do they have the experience in this case? How about compatibility? Man, this is very big. Compatibility is very important, because later on in these slides, I'm going to be talking about culture. And it's very important that to find out if this person that you're selecting, are they compatible with your culture? I'll give you an example, very simple. For example, if your company is very much outgoing, lots of fun, but you hire somebody who is more of a shy person, more of an introvert, keeps to himself. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. Because I tell you one thing, lots of these people, they are the smartest people in the world, and they come up with the best ideas. But what I'm saying talking about this compatibility here. So you might find some difficulty working with this person. And the other way around, so you are more a conservative company, and then you bring somebody who wears wild clothes and everything. Compatibility. Now, be careful with compatibility. Don't prejudge people. I always say that be careful how to use these things to prejudge people, but nonetheless, you need people who are compatible, because if compatibility exists, productivity goes up in a very big way. And then, of course, you have commitment. Commitment means maturity. Is this person able to commit to their goals? And this is very critical in my mind, because if a person commits to do something, for example, you come and ask me, Jamal, I want you to do this, and I commit to it and I deliver it, that's a sign of maturity. And then, of course, character. Character is the values, how you behave, how you perform in front of people, how you act. Do you stand by what you say? Character is very critical, okay? And this is something that you look at in the people you're selecting. And of course, culture, okay? Culture is very important in the sense that does this person has the right way of thinking? Do they fit into our culture? It goes back to compatibility as well. And when we talk about compatibility here, also compatibility to the job, remember. Huh? And then, of course, we have that compensation. Now, one thing is, all of us want to make money. All of us take on jobs that pay us more. But it's very important at the end of the day that you pay the person what the market is asking for. Because if you pay them less, they feel that they are being used. If you pay them more, then they might get a little bit feel more important than they are, and they feel, what, here I am, I'm being paid much more than others. Pay them the market value, and then once they are in the system, of course you will pay them based on the performance, on achieving their goals and everything, and then they deserve that promotion or the salary they're paying. But at the beginning, when you're hiring somebody, as much as possible, try to pay them the market rate, unless it is a unique skill that you don't find anywhere, and this person has succeeded in developing such a skill, and I hope you are, then that's something else. Okay. So selection process is very important. That's one of your key priorities. Then comes knowing your staff. One of the key things is that once you select this person, you have to know them. Once now they are part of your team, you are working with them, and we always encourage that to know people, always use the open door policy. Spend some time with them outside work. You don't have to be friends, but you can go out for lunch every now and then. You can have a meeting, a team meeting. Just get to know them a little bit more. They feel comfortable with you, and you feel comfortable with them. Third one is, for me, is something very, very important. To me, it ranks in the top 2, if anything. It's called recognizing achievements. Don't let an achievement go unrecognized. It's very, very important that you let people know that, what, we thank you for what you've done. This is very, very critical, guys. And I want you to remember that all your life, because recognition can go a long distance. Sometimes it's better than compensation in some cultures or some companies. And then, of course, always support them. Now, what I'm talking about here, in many companies, what happens is that employees might feel that the manager is not supporting them. I'll give you an example. A customer calls and they complain about the employee. They say the employee was rude, the employee did that, did this and that. And then your manager comes and really, really very upset with you. I think that's a big mistake. Because at the end of the day, the employee is going out of the way to represent the company, grow the business and everything. So at least some level of appreciation would be worthwhile. Let them know that I'm here to support you. We made a mistake this time. How can we make things better next time? Because if you just give it to them, they will be extremely demotivated. They were hit by the customer and now they're being hit by you. You can imagine the weight of that's hitting on the shoulder. Be the supportive manager that I believe you are. It's very important that you support your employees as long as you are a fair supporter. They're not asking you to support them when they're doing something wrong or unethical. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But when they know that you will stand for them when things are, they need you, I think it makes quite a difference. Now, that being said, okay, of course, setting expectations is very important. Now that you know them, how do you set expectations? Well, one thing for sure is that you as a supervisor, leader, manager, whatever, you need to set expectations, because setting expectations right will deliver the right results. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, understand the expectations yourself. Many managers, they go and explain expectations. They themselves, they don't understand it. How do they do that? Honestly, I don't know. But one of the key things is make the expectations clear to you. Once you do that, then you are in a position, okay, of knowing what the expectations are. So what are the expectations? Knowing where the expectations are required, in which areas. Now that you have these two going for you, you can help the employee understand the bigger picture. What does it mean? Many employees, they like to know how I'm adding value to the company. And this is very critical. So when you sit down with them and you manage expectations, tell them how managing these expectations will help make them better and make the company better, how they are impacting the company. And of course, once you do that, make sure that you are meeting with them and discussing these expectations. Try not to do it over the phone or via email. They want to see the whole picture. They want to see your face. They want to see your expressions. They want to see all of you to make sure that they're getting the right message all across. Make sure that the expectations are mutual. Sometimes they expect things from you and you expect things from them. So whatever you expect from them, that's great because you are saying it to them. But sometimes they say, look, you want me to do this. Can we have some support here? Can we have some training here? Because, they have expectations as well. They want to do well. and they're looking for you for support and help. Once you agree with these expectations, write them down. I think it helps a lot to write these expectations down, and always get the agreement and commitment. The last step is critical. They have to say, yes, I agree, because once they leave, it's very important they leave knowing that they have committed to something. And the more they participate in setting the expectations, the better the expectations will be. Okay? So now, moving on. Now that we're talking about, we finished with the three key parts, working with knowing yourself, knowing your boss, knowing your employees. How about if we talk about knowing your peers? So I'm going to ask you questions right now. It is not important to build a good working relationship with other managers in the organization. It is not. True or false? Let me see how you're going to answer this one. It is not important to build a good working relationship with other managers in the organization. So we have already some answers. I will be sharing it with you within the next couple of seconds. I just want to make sure that everybody had the chance to participate and share their input. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and end the voting. All right. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share the results with you. So I see that this time around, 2 of the participants have shared their input, and I want to thank you for that. And it's correct. You did very well. I'm very, very proud of you. Let me stop sharing the results. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my slide. Well, you know, the thing about is it's so important to build good relationship with other managers in the organization. If you are a team member, you have to work with other team members. If you are a manager, you have to work with other managers. The same thing. You have to develop these networks, relationships, and everything. Okay. Why? Well, let me help you understand why. Having strong relationship with peer managers has many benefits. For example, it can mitigate the reaction you get when you can dedicate as much time to a project as you would like. For example, in this case, some people will step in and help out. It also can result in better feedback because people in general want to help out. For example, if you're working on something, you will hear feedback from different angles. And believe me, if you leverage the good sense in people, people will come through for you. It can also influence approvals for headcounts and projects, believe it or not. Because if you may not be the biggest influencer, but your colleague is, and he's helping you out, if he talks to your manager, you get the resources. It can also garner more support for change initiatives that you might be interested in and pursuing. So if you like to have some initiatives in the organization, you might get the help from the colleagues that you have and your peer managers. And of course, it can improve the health of the work environment. Come to think of it, imagine if you have a good working relationship with peer managers, you know, it helps quite a bit in the environment of the company. It's not only the environment of your department or division, the environment overall. So the whole company is working together and on good footing. Okay. So that being said, how do you get to know your peers? How do you get to know your manager? Well, one of the key things we always ask for is pay attention to how they prefer to communicate. Some people like to communicate face to face, so make sure you meet them face to face. Some people they like to meet outside the office. Make sure that you meet them outside the office. Some people like to communicate via email. Okay, every now and then send them an email, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, also being thoughtful about the message you send across is also very important, because you know sometimes when you send messages around, especially emails, and please, I ask you to be very careful with emails again and again. When you send emails around, sometimes you forget that there is somebody on the other side or other colleagues who might be hurt or who might be offended or who might misunderstand your message. Think about your message that you send out. It is a reflection of you. Remember, it's leaving a good impression to yourself, to your manager, and to the peers that you are working with. And of course, always make sure that understanding it's not only your priority, it's not only you in the organization. Other people have priorities as well, and these priorities will, you know, kind of fight with each other. And then, of course, you have taking the time to explain the why. If somebody is asking you for something, okay, or you're asking somebody or a colleague to explain something for you, you have to make sure that you explain the why we're doing this one. Be ready, be prepared, because explaining the why can help you convince them better. And of course, Keeping them in the loop, this is very important. If you are working on a program or a project and they have people involved from their side, keep them involved. Every now and then tell them how things are progressing. This helps you know your peers better. And then, of course, avoid exploiting the relationship. What I mean by that is, one, don't take your friends for granted or your peers for granted and say, you know what, he will approve it. No, no. Always make sure that, the relationship is built on trust. Don't try to exploit it, and don't try to assume that the relationship will, it's okay to do it because they're okay with it. No, no. Always make sure that you are doing the right thing. Now, that being said, you have to influence and persuade. And to influence and persuade, um, uh, get to know where the other person is coming from. So because influencing and persuasion is very important in the workplace. You have to influence a colleague about the project, about the change management initiative, about something that you're working on. So try to understand where the other person is coming from in case they resist. Because once you know what the other party wants, this way you can, position yourself better. Also, argue your case logically. Don't go for emotions, because here you're trying to set the tone, the scene. Also be aware of the communication style, how your body language is coming across, your tone of voice. For example, some people have a tendency to speak loud, and then some people get offended by that. Be careful of the words you use. Be careful of your emotions. Get your emotions in check all the time. And then, of course, be positive rather than negative. For example, if they mention something and you come back with a negative reply, they might take offense. So always measure your replies and always have a positive to say. And if you don't have anything positive to say, don't say anything. It's okay. And then, of course, keep the discussion cordial and respectful. And this is the best way to influence and persuade others. And sometimes I get surprised, especially with the things you and we see on YouTube or TV, that sometimes these things, which are the foundation of proper influencing and persuasion, somehow they don't exist. But take heart. These are the key things that I would like you to focus on, and they will take you a long distance. Okay. That being said, it's very important to make allies in the workplace. Always make allies, because an ally is an associate who will provide assistance and often friendship. So your allies are likely to support your views and causes, especially in front of upper management, for example, and they can also help you solve problems. For example, let's say that you are running a rig, or you are running developing a program, and you don't have the skills, or you don't have the people who have the skills. Your manager, your colleague, may have that person. So you might reach out and say, look, can you lend me a person or a part or something to help me finish this project? And they will do it. Okay. So it's very important to build allies in the workplace. That being said, okay, when building allies, always make sure that you have the best interests of the organization and your peers at heart. And many people, they play the political game here. Politics are not going to disappear, but look, when you are serving yourself when you're building alliances, that's not good. Build alliances to serve the company and serve others with the best intention. This is why we develop alliances. Yes, there could be some personal gains, but let the organization gain at the end of the day. When the organization gains, everybody gains, and you will gain quite a bit. So one of the key things that you can, ways to make allies is develop open lines of communication, exhibit total professionalism, always put your best effort forward, keep your promises. In case you promise something, keep them, and of course, be an ally yourself. Treat your allies as equals, spend time with your allies, choose your battles wisely. Here, I like to spend some time on this one. What I mean by this one is that sometimes it's okay to let go of something. Why? Because if another person wants something so bad, but you really don't want it, it's okay to let go instead of fighting over it, because it doesn't mean much to you. By doing that, you're actually earning credit with the other person, because at some stage you're going to need something really bad, and you expect that person to reciprocate. And of course, resolve conflicts at earliest as possible. Don't let conflicts, fester for so long. On the contrary, as early as possible, work them out, and never backstab or blindside an ally. All right. Now we're kind of wrapping up. We're coming to the end of our session, but I'd like to ask you a question about managing within. What does it mean? It means that you are working within the organization. So here comes the question that I'm going to ask you about. Answer this one for me. As a manager, it is important to consider your company's culture when developing a working relationship with your employees. Is this true or false? Let's see. I see that all our friends have answered this time again. So I'm going to end the voting. I'm going to share the results. So well done for you. I'm very proud of you. Yes, it is important to consider your company culture when developing a working relationship with your team. It's very, very critical. Because you see, many people, they come in and develop their own culture and they forget about the company culture. And all of a sudden, they find themselves isolated. Just recently, as a matter of fact, yesterday I was listening to the radio station, and the head and the CEO of a very, very big technology company, he was asked to step down because he decided to follow certain code of ethics that did not fit with the company's code of ethics. I don't want to mention the name of the company, but I'm a big admirer of this company. And funny enough, this person decided to apply his own culture of how he would like to perceive things or explain things. So the company did not agree with him, and they asked him to step down after 6 weeks of becoming a CEO. So cultures are, of a company is very important. They come in different shapes and form. Company culture, as you know, it is the shared values, practices, and beliefs of the company. You cannot see it, but you can feel it for sure. You can see it through the behaviors of the members of the organization, how they talk, how they do things. So culture is very powerful, by the way. It's extremely powerful. So it's very important you understand your company's culture. Now, that being said, to understand your culture, I may have to ask you to ask some questions. For example, you might ask a company if you just joined or you're trying to understand your company's culture. For example, you can ask, when was the right moment when everybody came together to do something remarkable? You might ask, for example, about examples of people who succeeded wildly in the company beyond within the boundaries of the organization. They just succeeded just so well. How does the company celebrate? What do they celebrate? The frequency of celebration. Are the founders executive approachable? How does the company innovate? And you can ask as many questions as possible as long as they are within the you can say standards of asking proper questions, because it is your right to know the culture, how it operates. And remember, you're going to be working within that culture. And if you don't know the culture, you won't be able to change the culture. I mean, so look at this one. This is very nice. If you don't know the culture, you won't be able to change the culture. And if you want to change it, once you know the culture, you can change it faster, you can change it in a better way. So it's very important you know the culture of the company for many, many reasons. One is for you to become productive, and on the other hand, for you to be as an influencer and a persuasive person in the organization. So dealing with the workplace politics, I ask you to be careful with workplace politics. They will always be there. Always take the high road, avoid bad politics, so this is something I want you to remember and understand, that here are some tips on how to work with place politics. First of all, analyze the organizational chart, build connection, make most of your network, use your network, don't hesitate. Neutralize negative politics. For example, if you see somebody in the workplace talking about somebody else, you can stop them in a very nice way and say, you know what, it's better not to do this in our culture because we like to propagate positive feedback here, not negative. Understand the informal network. Remember, we said analyze organizational chart. This means that this is the formal chart. But understanding the informal network means that who has influence, who has power, who makes the decisions at the end of the day, who's influencing the decisions. Develop your people skills. It's very important when it comes to workplace politics. And be brave, but not naive. I mean, what I would like to say here is, I want you to be brave, speak up your mind, but don't be naive thinking that, people are not going to be hurt. People will be hurt if you are very, very strong in your opinion. Try to position yourself the right way. With that being said, I want to thank you for taking the time. I hope you enjoyed the webinars. This is my email as normal. This is our website. Always go there. And this is my LinkedIn account. We are running this program next year in sometime in August. But if you are interested in it and you'd like to attend this course, please send us an email, and we'll be more than happy to run it in your company. And if we have enough people calling for it, we will be more than happy to run a public program. With that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Here are some references for you that you can use, and you can buy these books and material and start doing some reading. This is a fantastic book. Leaders Eat Last, not East Last. Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek, a very, very influential leader. And then How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book, you should have it in your library, by Dale Carnegie. On Managing People, H.P. Arthur Must-Reads. This is a very nice book. A very good reference to have. Managing People, Including Yourself, by Gordon Culp and Ann Smith, especially when it comes to projects. The Truth About Managing People by Stephen Robbins. Very nice book. And the last one, which I think this is a very key book for you to read, Essentials of Organizational Behavior by Robbins Judge. I'd like to pause here for a second. Do you have any questions? Do you like to ask any questions? Anything that you'd like to say? I'd be more than happy to stay for a couple of minutes more. Otherwise, do interact with me. Send me an email, and I will be more than happy to reply to you. And if you'd like to have the presentation, I'd be more than happy to send it across as well. All right. So Speeda, thank you as well. Thank you. Taysir will send you the presentation for sure. You'll get the copy. Send me an email, please, and we'll be more than happy to send it across. And all right. I see that Al-Fadl Ali joined. Probably he joined recently. Welcome, Al-Fadl. Sorry we missed you at the first part of the webinar. We hope to catch up with you later on. And all right, guys. So this is it for now. I want to thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend if you happen to be coming up to the weekend. Otherwise, have a great rest of the week. Take care and
Merck.com